Good morning, students. Today we are going to study about the circulatory system. The human circulatory system, as we will be dealing over here. We all know that both the human beings and animals, they need food, water, oxygen and all to keep alive. Simultaneously, we know that there are certain harmful substances which have to be removed also from our body. So the transport of nutrients and these oxygen and the removal of those nitrogenous waste which we just discussed about is carried out through the blood by the transport system which is called the circulatory system. The circulatory system comprises of the heart, blood, the blood vessels which circulates blood throughout the body, thereby helping in the transport of nutrients, oxygen and carbon dioxide. Blood, which is a principal fluid in our body, it is circulated in a closed manner. What do you mean by a closed manner? That means they flow by the help of blood vessels. The blood is transported by the help of blood vessels in the veins, in the arteries and the capillaries. Now, apart from the transportation of substances and the removal of metabolic waste, circulatory system also helps in maintaining the body temperature, protecting the body from certain diseases, and also it regulates the activities of the body by transporting hormones. Now coming to the heart, we all know that it's the pumping organ. Now what's the size of it? Suppose you just close your fist, you'll be able to just imagine the heart is of the size of one's folded fist and it is weighing nearly 225 to 340 grams. Now regarding the location, it's a very misconcept that the heart is located in the left hand side. I'll just tell you where it is located. It is located in the center of the chest cavity with its tip slightly tilted towards the left side, and it is enclosed by a protective double layered membrane called the pericardium. There is also fluid in between the membranes which is known as your pericardial fluid. This pericardial fluid protects the heart from shocks, jerks or any sort of mechanical stress. The main function we know of the heart is to receive the blood, pump it and also to circulate throughout the body by the help of blood vessels. Now let's just have a look at the internal structure of the heart. Look at the diagram. From the diagram, you'll be able to see it is divided vertically into the left and a right portion, and that is divided by a membrane called septum. Each half is further divided horizontally into two chambers, an upper chamber called auricle and lower chamber called ventricle. Therefore, heart has got four chambers, upper two auricles, lower two ventricles. Auricles, as you know, they are the receiving chambers. They receive the blood from different parts of the body and they have smaller and thin walls. Why they have got smaller and thin walls? Because they just have to pour the blood next to the ventricles only. Coming to the ventricles, you can have a look at the ventricles. They are the distributing chambers which pump blood into the lungs and also the blood vessels that distribute blood to all parts of the body. The ventricles are large and the walls are thick, elastic and muscular. Why do you know, children? Because they have to pump the blood efficiently to different parts of the body, far away to the furthest portion and even against the gravity to the brain. The right auricle opens into the right ventricle. This opening is guarded by valve which is known as your tricuspid valve. Have a look over there. There are three cusps. Similarly, the opening between the left auricle and the left ventricle is guarded by bicuspid valve. That is also known as your mitral valve. It has two cusps. These valves regulate the flow of blood in one direction, that is from auricles into the ventricles. It cannot allow the blood to flow back. The blood flows from the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery and from the left ventricle it flows into the aorta. Aorta is the largest artery. You have to remember that also. The flow of blood from the ventricles into these two arteries is also regulated by two valves which are known as the semilunar valves. They ensure that the blood does not flow back into the ventricles from there. Now coming to the pacemaker. All of you must have heard about the pacemaker. Over here, the cardiac muscles show continuous contraction and relaxation. Whenever the heart is working, always it contracts and relaxes, which is a result of electrical impulse. It originates in a node called as sinoatrial node or SA node. This node is located in the upper right corner of the right auricle and is responsible for setting rhythm for the contraction and relaxation of heart, or simply the heartbeat. It is also called as the natural pacemaker of the heart, as it initiates the heartbeat. Coming to the blood vessels, we are having three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins and capillaries. These arteries, they carry away blood from the heart to all parts of the body. They usually carry oxygenated blood. But over here we have one exceptional artery, which is the pulmonary artery. It carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Then we are having the second one, that is your vein. They carry blood towards the heart from different parts of the body. Again, here also we are having one exception called the pulmonary vein, which carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to your left auricle. The third blood vessel is our capillaries. They are the finest blood vessels in the body, interconnecting the arteries and the veins. Now you also have to remember the blood vessels of the heart. What are the different blood vessels of the heart? First one is your vena cava. We are having here superior and inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava is a large vein which brings deoxygenated blood from the upper parts of the body to the heart. Upper parts means your head, your shoulder region. And inferior vena cava is again another large vein which gets deoxygenated blood from the lower portion of the body. For example, your trunk, your legs and all. Now both these veins open into the right auricle. Coming to your pulmonary veins. These bring oxygenated blood from the right and the left lungs. These veins open into the left auricle. We just discussed about those exceptional vein, which was the pulmonary vein. Coming to the pulmonary trunk. It arises from the right ventricle carrying deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation, and this branches out into the left and the right pulmonary artery respectively, which goes to the respective lungs. Aorta, it leaves the left ventricle carrying oxygenated blood to all parts of the body through its branches. Now, coming to the next one, which is your coronary artery. We know that the heart keeps on pumping blood. It takes the blood and pumps it to all parts of the body and also receives. The heart also requires certain amount of blood for itself. So this is supplied by the coronary artery. So this blood vessel carries or distributes oxygenated blood to the walls of the heart. And coronary veins, they bring the deoxygenated blood from the walls of the heart, pour it again into the opening of the right auricle. Coming to the working of the heart. So you must be clear up till here. So let's see the working of the heart. The deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body is received in the right auricle. Okay, children. Simultaneously, what happens? Oxygen-rich blood returning from the lungs is received in the left auricle. Right auricle will contract and it pumps the deoxygenated blood into the right ventricle. Similarly, the left auricle contracts and also sends the oxygenated blood into the left ventricle. The atrioventricular valves, they close with a sound. Both the valves, your tricuspid as well as your bicuspid valve. At the same time, your semilunar valves are open. The right ventricle begins to contract. The deoxygenated blood is pushed into the pulmonary artery, which transports this blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Similarly, the left ventricle also contracts and oxygenated blood is pumped into the aorta with great pressure because the blood has to reach to all parts of the body. Semilunar valves close with the sound when the blood in the ventricles has been pushed into the arteries. You have to remember that the contraction of the auricles is quickly followed by the contraction of ventricles. And this goes on in a rhythmic manner about nearly 72 times per minute. The right half of the heart, that is your right auricle and right ventricle, it receives the deoxygenated blood, whereas the left part of the heart, the left auricle and the left ventricle receives oxygenated blood. The blood on the right side of the heart never mixes with the left side due to the septum. Now coming to double circulation. Though it sounds very strange, but you should be knowing that why it's called double circulation. As the blood flows through the heart twice to complete one full circulation throughout the body, that is why it is known as double circulation. So it is categorized into two. One is your pulmonary, another one is your systemic. At first, the blood flows from the right side of the heart to the lungs and then returns to the left side of the heart. That is your pulmonary circulation. Second time, you can just have a look in the diagram also. The second time, the blood flows from the left side of the heart to all parts of the body and then again returns to the right side of the heart. That's your systemic circulation. Coming to the blood groups. Now children, suppose sometimes in case of injury, in case of surgery or disease or something, whenever we require blood or due to certain bleeding and all, we require blood in the body. So that's your transfusion. We call it as a blood transfusion. So we have to know that what blood group you belong to. For this, Karl Landster in 1900, he identified different types of blood groups in human beings. Okay, they were differentiated on the basis of proteins, which were antigens found on the surface of RBCs. There were two types of antigens, antigen A and antigen B. If a person's blood group is A, if the antigen present on the RBC is A, just remember that. He'll be having the blood group A if antigen A is present in the RBC. He'll be having blood group B if antigen present on the RBC is B. The person whose RBCs have both the antigens, for example A and B, he belongs to the blood group AB. And if a person has no antigens, neither A or neither B, he belongs to the blood group O. Fine. So you have to always also remember that you have to give the correct blood to the person. You cannot transfuse wrong blood because it causes severe reaction which causes the body to form antibodies and then it can attack the new blood cells. And here I'm showing you the matching of the blood groups. We can see the blood group of the donor in one side and the blood group of the recipient on the other side. The person who gives the blood is the donor and the person who receives the blood is the receiver. So if a person is having blood group A, he can donate the blood to the person having blood group A as well as to the person having blood group AB. The person having blood group B can give the blood to the person having blood group B as well as AB. A person having the blood group AB can give only to the person having blood group AB. A person having blood group O can donate the blood to A, to B, to AB and also to O. So from this we conclude that the person having blood group O is known as a universal donor as he is able to give the blood to all the different blood groups, and AB is called the universal recipient as he is able to receive blood from all the blood groups. Thank you children. I hope all of you have understood the chapter well.